this episode, we talk about suicide, suicidal thoughts, and mental health struggles. If you are ever struggling with any of these things, we urge you to reach out to a professional or somebody that you trust. We will link support down below, and we are always here for you.
I was just like, this is like a dirty little secret that I can't talk about.
Why do they not allow us to speak about it? Why do we feel like we can't talk about it?
They just told me that I have endo, but without actually saying that you have endo. And I was just like, whoa. Then I was thinking, what about my fertility? What about my future? For the entirety of my international rugby career, I've had endometriosis.
Welcome to the Hormonal Hotline podcast with me, Ellisha Blake, the podcast where we talk about all the things that would usually stay in a group chat, but there are no boundaries here. We're having raw, honest and open conversations, and I want to thank you so much for being here. Let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to the Hormonal Hotline podcast with me, Ellisha Blake. Today I have a very exciting guest. I have international rugby player and endometriosis advocate, Gwen Crabb. Hello.
That was a very good intro. I like the little jazz hands there.
One take wonder that was. It's Monday morning, girls. Like, how did we do that after a whole weekend of being really healthy?
I want to be introduced like that all the time.
I know, walking down the street into a lift.
Yeah, exactly.
Gwen Crabb. I love. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good, thank you.
Good.
How are you?
What have you been? I'm good, thank you. What have you been up to?
I've been busy getting back to training after my endo excision surgery.
Ooh, we're going straight in there, aren't we?
Straight in there, yeah. Obviously, it's been a heat wave.
It has been very, very hot.
Yeah, so that hasn't been ideal, but we can't complain about the heat, can we? Because we don't have heat all the time.
And you had a big birthday.
Yeah, and it was my birthday yesterday as well.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So getting old, nearly 30 now, 27.
Nearly 30. I'm 30 in 3 months, babes. 3 months, guys.
That's actually nearly 30.
I know. Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. But you had a lovely birthday.
Yeah, it was really nice. There was lots of rugby on over the weekend. So
good. And what's your goal for 27?
That's a big question, isn't it? Do you know what? I'm actually not a big goal setter. Which is interesting being in the career that I'm in, but actually I think I have like soft goals, like things I want to achieve, but from being like injured and having stuff in the past, I actually realized it's just about day by day things, like process things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm more like, I actually really like my life at the minute, so I just keep living it like I am.
Do
you know what I mean?
That.
Like just enjoy it and go with it and be open to new opportunities, I suppose.
Yeah, there's a fine balance with setting goals because you can always be looking too far ahead that you're not enjoying the present day.
Yeah, and I used to be like that a lot. And so now I'm more just like, you know what will come? Like, also, I think birthdays are a really unique opportunity to be like, how different is my life this year than it was last year? Like, it's like a hard stop to be like, oh God, like, remember last birthday? That's like, my life's so different now. So now I've realised I might set a goal now for next year, but actually it's going to be completely different because my life's going to change again.
Of course. And you know when your phone like reminds you of you a year ago, I nearly like pass out when I see myself a year ago. I'm like, oh my God, who was she? Wild.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah. Right, let's get into it. First of all, I think I gave you an introduction, but it wasn't obvious, it was quite brief. Give the listeners and viewers sort of a brief intro into who you are and your story.
Yeah. So, as we know, I'm Gwen Crabb.
Gwen Crabb.
And I'm an international rugby player, which is still crazy to say when you say it.
Your full-time job, like full-time unreal.
Job, yeah. Yeah. And like off air, we were talking about our younger version of ourselves, and like mine would be screaming. But I actually didn't start playing rugby till I was 14, 15. Is
that quite late?
It's pretty late. I think for girls in my era, it's not, because we didn't actually even realise women could play rugby. Like we didn't realise women and girls played rugby. I did, because it was not on television, it wasn't publicised, so I didn't actually know until I started playing that women played rugby, which is just nuts. Whereas now, obviously, we're a lot more in the public eye, so young girls are starting younger, which is great because they can see it, and if you can't see it, you can't be it, kind of thing. I started playing rugby relatively late, but then my career was a bit of a whirlwind, and within a couple of years I got my first international cap, and from there on, really, it hasn't always been my full-time job. Like, I went through uni, I had a job as a PT, and then got my first full-time contract in 2022. And it's been my full-time job for the last 4 years.
How did that feel when you finally signed that full-time contract?
I literally was like jumping up and down, like, it was, because it has been a long process to actually fight to get full-time contracts and to be paid even, because for my first probably 25 international caps, we didn't get paid anything. Wow. So we were working full-time jobs or in full-time education.
And that wouldn't be the same if you're a man, would it? Like,
oh, no.
By that point, they would have been paid,
They get
right?
brought into academies when they're like 14, 15
Okay.
and get contracts and get paid, like, at least to cover their time and that kind of stuff. So it was, pretty surreal, to be honest. And pretty crazy. That's been my job ever since. But interestingly, I obviously started playing rugby at 14. I also got my period at 14. And so for the entirety of my international rugby career, I've had endometriosis, and I only found out 6 months ago.
You only found out you had it 6 months ago?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I mean...
And you're 27?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So that's
and I
over 10
suspected
years.
that I've had it for maybe 2 or 3 years, but I only got diagnosed. Before then, I didn't even know it existed. I didn't even know what it was.
Wow.
But obviously had the symptoms the whole time. And then 6 months ago, or maybe 7, I say 6 months ago, but time goes by and you're like, oh, it's actually 8 months now.
Yeah.
8 months ago, I would say, December. That's when I got officially diagnosed.
Crazy. Yeah. And growing up, from the day like your periods began, what would you say, what were your symptoms in the beginning? What was when like you had that moment where you were like, something's not quite right here, and you're like chatting to your friends and they're like, I don't have that.
Pain, a lot of pain. And I think it just started off as painful. I hate saying just painful periods because that's what everyone labels it as, but they were really painful and really heavy. And I it's interesting because my mum kind of knew there was something wrong, but she also had those symptoms when she was young, and she's kind of in the lost generation of women's health, where they had all these symptoms but just kind of got dismissed and never got diagnosed with anything, but actually have the symptoms. So to my mum, it was relatively normal, even though it wasn't. So we did go to the GP quite a few times, and they were just saying, oh, it'll settle down, because this was probably in the first year of my periods, and they were like, oh, it'll settle down, or it'll kind of like regulate itself, but it didn't. And so eventually you kind of just give up, and you're just like, well, maybe this is just part of being a woman. And that was that, really. But I can remember I think probably I've tried to block out a lot of the experiences because it was not fun, like growing up with that. Yeah. So, but I do remember like going out with my friends or like social occasions and just being like bleeding so heavily that I was just constantly worried that I was just going to bleed through. The pain was really bad. Like I would stand up and like I'd have like blood clots, and I'd be like, I need to go to the toilet straight away. Like changing sanitary products every hour, like in school as well.
Period pants didn't exist then.
I wish period pants existed.
Honestly.
Then that would have saved my life, because I actually couldn't use tampons because it was too painful. Another red flag. But I was just like, kind of my life was kind of controlled for that week of the month.
And the shame and embarrassment you have at that age as well.
Yeah, because now I talk so openly about it to my teammates, my friends, online, everything.
Yeah.
But then I was just like, this is like a dirty little secret that I can't talk about, or and I actually didn't speak to my friends and be like, what's your period like?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Or have you started your period, or when did we didn't speak about that. It was kind of like taboo, like don't speak about that.
I always remember me and my friends, her parents took us down to like the New Forest to go camping, and we all went camping, and then this one girl didn't come until hours later, and then she turned up at the campsite and her parents had driven her down there, and I was like, why are you late? And she was like, I have had the worst periods, I've been really heavy, like I have to wear like 3 pads, and like we just were like, oh, that's really bad. And now I'm older, I look back and I'm like, I really wonder when I reach out to her and be like, did you have
diagnosed with anything?
Because it's so funny, because at the time you're just sort of like, oh. But then when you look back, you're like, that wasn't right.
No.
Like,
but no one tells you it's not normal either.
No.
Like I think the education in schools around it has been so poor. Like we didn't get, you obviously get like a very brief sex ed, but no one's saying to you, if you have this symptom, and I don't know if it's different these days, and I'm hoping it is, or if not, that it will be soon. But if people are like, these are red flags to look out for. If you have these things, that's not deemed as normal. Like you just get taught very briefly, and it's only the girls that get taught, well, actually, why can't we just do it to everyone? Because the likelihood is someone's got a mother or a sister, or
they're going to have a daughter one day.
Yeah, or a girlfriend or anything, that they may be able to spot those red flags and have the education behind it. Like, why is it just a women's health thing? It's not. It's just a health thing. Come on.
I know, but what also I don't understand is if that supposed male ends up in a like hetero relationship, like he's gonna need to know how to support his partner. Do you get?
And if they don't even know that it's a thing,
and it will make his life more difficult by not knowing how to support her.
And it will make her life more difficult because she'll have to explain it, and then sometimes it's really draining actually to try and explain, because it can feel like you're trying to explain, but you know that person will never really understand.
Education for everyone that helps everything. That sounds stupid, but you know what I mean.
It does, and it comes from talking about it and making it less stigmatized, I suppose.
Yes.
Like it's really, really common. So like, even like every woman has a period.
Yeah.
Or, do you know what I mean? Like at some point. And so why didn't we talk about it? 50% of the population are suffering with them,
I know. And also I always say men wouldn't be here without periods.
So true.
Like they wouldn't actually be here. And I'm like, so why do they like not allow us to speak about it? Why do we feel like we can't talk about it? It's like, you wouldn't be here if your mother hadn't had one. So deal with it. Here I am on a podcast being like, so funny. I mean, so obviously you went through years of painful periods. When did you first turn to the doctor and say, this ain't right, I need to do something? What did they say to you? How did you continue training and, getting to the point where you're playing professionally and you're not even diagnosed?
Mm-hmm. I think, obviously, when I was younger, we went back and forth quite a few times. There was suggestion of going on the contraceptive pill then, but I don't know, 14-year-old me was like, I'm not doing that.
Good for you.
Yeah, well, I was just like, no, like, I don't know. I guess I don't know why then I didn't want to, but I just didn't. And so, these symptoms carried on. And then when I was 18 and I became sexually active, then I was like, okay, I'll go on the pill. And so I did, but I didn't think of it as a way of masking like my symptoms or of managing my symptoms. I was just like, oh, I'll just go on for it. And if there's any added benefit, happy days. And to be fair, I did not have those symptoms for 4 years then.
Okay.
And to a degree, I forgot about it because I think, especially when you're young, you're just kind of living in the moment and you're just like, this is what I'm experiencing right now. And that probably helped me quite significantly in my rugby career because that was the start of my international career.
Wow.
And it's not until when you reflect back and you're like, oh, that makes sense. That lines up. Like, where would I be if I didn't do that? And would it have maybe held me back? Or maybe, I don't know. Hindsight, isn't it? You just don't know.
Yeah.
But I got my first international cap when I was 19. And so I was on the pill at the time. And then I was on the pill until 22. And I had like a dream start to my international career. I didn't have excruciating period pains like pulling me back. Obviously you on some of the contraceptive pills you get like a withdrawal bleed kind of thing, a bit of cramping, bit of pain, but it wasn't. I mean, it was like very minimal. And so then at 22 I started listening to some audio books and things about,
she became profound.
I became deeply profound, but I was like listening to things about how being on the pill can change your like natural hormonal balance and what it would maybe be like to train as an athlete with your cycle rather like and there is a lot of perks because you kind of know where you are in your cycle and therefore you can adapt your training to it, or you can push hard on one week and then exactly know when to pull back, all of that kind of thing. So I didn't really think anything of like, oh, my painful periods are going to come back. I just was like, okay, I'm going to be a natural queenie, let's go to like come off the pill. And then I had like the worst period of my life. But I and again, in hindsight, it's so easy to be like, of course you did. But at the time I was just like, where is this coming from? I've not got a clue. I just remember being like curled up in bed, trying to do online uni lectures. Like I was just like cameras off, like dying, hot water bottle a lot. And then from there on, to be honest, that was when I started to be like, this is quite horrendous. But I still didn't think it wasn't normal.
And that was your first period after you came off the pill?
Yeah.
Gosh, there's something to be said. Obviously, thank goodness that you went on the pill in some ways. So you might not be where you are today if you hadn't.
Yeah.
But again, we speak about this a lot, masking symptoms.
Yeah.
It's, that's crazy.
And we'll touch on like management strategies with endo and stuff that I now use. But I think it's really important to get diagnosed or be on track to being diagnosed if you are going to go on the pill, because I do think it can be a really useful management strategy for controlling symptoms. But if you are in the process of being diagnosed or diagnosed already, what I'm not an advocate for is just go on the pill, it'll be fine, because that's not solving the problem. The problem is still there, and eventually if you maybe want to conceive, you have to come off the pill, and the problem is there 10 times worse because you're not used to being like to managing the symptoms. So I came off the pill, terrible first period, and then that kind of just carried on. And then I also started experiencing more symptoms, like just pain throughout the month, ovulation pain, like stabbing pains. But I mean, you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't even know endo was a thing. So how am I meant to know these are symptoms of endo if I don't even know it's a thing, you know? And at this point, I probably still wasn't talking openly to my friends. You know, you'd say, oh, my period came today, or has anyone got a tampon? That was probably, even within a women's rugby environment, which is very open, and we're like, I'm really grateful that I have those kind of connections with my teammates where you can just literally just tell them about anything.
Are you all in sync because you're a team?
No, not really. No. I don't even know if that's a real thing or not.
They say it's a myth.
Because they say it's a myth, but then it happens. But I just think it's like, if one person has a period like clockwork and the other one shifts, eventually you're going to sync because it moves along. I don't know. Yeah, I know.
I don't know if this is actually, it's probably babbling. It's a weird theory, but my housemate's on the pill, but she gets all the same symptoms as me. Like when I'm in my luteal phase, she can almost feel like she's in her luteal phase, even though she doesn't have a period.
Maybe it's like a woman's empathy.
It's really weird. Like we like really, she's like, I can't stop eating. And I'm like, well, it's because I'm due on.
Same.
She's like eating for me.
Yeah. But yeah, we weren't really, I wasn't really very open and talking a lot about it. And I was experiencing symptoms like, so I get max exertional flare-ups, which is far from ideal when you play elite sport, because maybe a couple of times a month we'd have to like do a bike session or a running session where you literally are pushing yourself to the maximum, where your heart rate is like up near 100%.
Oh my God. And
that causes a flare-up. But then say I would do a fitness test and we'd be going straight into a rugby session, but I'd be like low-key dying over there on the floor, and it would look like I was really unfit. And I'd be like, I'm not really unfit. I'm just like, actually, I can't stand up. So like, I'd be like hunched over, and the coaches would be like, are you all right? And I'm just like, how do I explain this? Because I don't even know what it is, because why isn't anyone else having it? And like, we've just done the same thing. But again, I didn't know what endo was, and I didn't know it was a symptom. Yeah. So I'd just be like hunched over, and that would happen pretty often. Sometimes it was more like in my luteal phase would be worse, or if I was on my period, worse. And then like maybe when I was ovulating, I'd get away with it and it'd be fine. But I didn't see the correlation because I wasn't really thinking about putting two and two together. And then in 2023, I ruptured my ACL, which is a pretty nasty injury. I know, I've done it twice, not fun, wouldn't recommend. And one of the other girls in the team did hers at a similar time, and we became close. And we had blood tests through rugby, and she had really low iron. And she also struggled with, she had like terrible mood swings and things when she was coming onto her period. And so they kind of like linked those two things together and then sent her down the route of going to see a specialist. And she ended up having a laparoscopy and got diagnosed with endometriosis. And that was the first time I'd ever heard what it was. And I went straight into like supportive friend mode, and I was like, what can I do? Like, can I help you? Like, learn a bit more about it. And then we started a podcast. And we had her surgeon on the podcast. And so that was the first time I really discussed symptoms. And I'm sat there. I reckon if you watch the podcast back, you could probably see my brain being like,
that's me.
Hang on a minute now. I know we're talking about you, and I didn't want to be like, I have that, because I thought this is about my friend and we're discussing endometriosis, not about me. And actually it was. I was like, oh yeah, I do have this. Chatted with him off the podcast and I was like, I think I have it. He's like, yeah, I'm 99% sure you do based on your symptoms. I was like, right, okay. And that was in 2023. And then I started trying to go through the NHS to try and get sent a referral for gynecology. And that took me 3 years of just going back. And it's exhausting. So like, maybe it could have been quicker if I'd gone every single month. But how exhausting is it when I don't want to have to book a GP appointment every single month when I'm already dealing with these symptoms. I'm already in pain and I'm playing international rugby.
Yeah.
Like,
it's too much.
I haven't. And to be honest with you, booking appointments like that is the bane of my life, like life admin.
And all the online forms.
It's too much. No. So I would go back every now and again, as like if my symptoms were particularly bad, I'd be okay, I need to be seen for this. And then so I'd go kind of get turned away. And then my symptoms kind of continue to develop and change, and I would get new symptoms. And I actually started getting recurring bacterial vaginosis. And and I was like, where's this coming from? Like, I've never had it before in my life. And I was like, this is really weird. And so I obviously was like, okay, I need to go and get checked for this. So I would go to the doctors, they would do the swabs, they would tell me, yeah, this is what it is. They'd do all the STD checks and everything as well. Like, always came back negative, everything. Oh yeah, you've got BV again. Cool, go on antibiotics. And I had it probably like 6 times, like just recurring. And I just didn't understand. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I don't know, it was really confusing. And this one time I went back to the GP to get more medication for it. And she said, like, this isn't quite right. She tried to like do this similar to like a smear test where she was like trying to put what's it called? That thing? Speculum. And I was like in excruciating pain with her trying to do it. And she was like, this is like, something's like raising alarm bells for me. I'm going to refer you to gynecology.
Good.
And I was like,
thank goodness.
Because I wasn't even at the GP for endo symptoms at that time. I think I did mention to her, I am trying to get diagnosed with endometriosis. And she was like, okay, I'm going to refer you. That was in May last year. So again, I just kind of forgot about it because I went to the World Cup last year. So that kind of preoccupied my brain, and I was like deep in the training hole, obviously having severe symptoms the entire time. But just, and we can touch on this more in a bit, but I think being a rugby player and having a lot of injuries, I kind of associate injuries and endo pain as the same. And it's like sometimes you just got to get through it. You just got to put your head down. You got to get on with it. Like just dig in.
You're an athlete. You've got to move forward. You've got to keep going.
Exactly. And it's like, you know, pain is gain, like, you know, all that kind of thing. Like, I've just got to get through this. That was my mindset, I think. And so I went to the World Cup. And again, we can go back to the World Cup and the experiences I had with endo in the World Cup. But I came back and I had a phone call to say, oh, your gynecology appointment's come around. And I'm like, I forgot about you. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Perfect. So I went and had an internal ultrasound, and I convinced myself that it was going to be clear. Like, I was like, because loads of people have said to me, it might come back clear, doesn't mean you don't have endo.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tick box thing. So I went, and while they were still doing the ultrasound, they were like, yeah, there's actually two, you've got a cyst on both ovaries that are called endometriomas. One's filled with blood. And I was like, okay, it's kind of crazy you're telling me this, like literally with the ultrasound wand inside me. Yeah. I was like, this is a lot to process. And it was still a bit weird. I was just like, huh? Okay. And I went out of that room and I ran straight to the toilet. I just bawled my eyes out because
it's so vulnerable as well.
Yeah, and my mum was in the car, but I was just on my own. I was like, okay, I think this means they've just told me that I have endo, but without actually saying that you have endo. Yeah. And I was just like, whoa. Then I was thinking, what about my fertility? What about my future? I feel sorry for the past version of me. It was just all a lot. And I was also relieved because I was like, finally, they found something. And so I went to my rugby team and I was like, look, they found this. And they sent me privately to see a specialist. The specialist that was on the podcast 3 years earlier.
No way.
Full circle moment.
What, was that by coincidence?
I chose to see him. I was like, okay, I know you're like, he's like the best in Wales. Yeah. And I knew, obviously my friend has gone through him.
Do you know Sophie Richards?
Yeah.
Has she gone to him? Yeah. I thought she might have. Another Welshie.
Yeah. He is like the OG of gynecologists in Wales, like of endosurgeons. So yeah, went to see him, and I walked through the door and he's like, I was wondering when I'd see you.
I've been waiting for you.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I was given. We obviously like went through my symptoms and he was like, yeah, you've got endo. And I was like, whoa, okay. Like, how?
And this was 9 months ago?
Yeah. I was like, whoa, okay, are you sure? Like, and medical gaslighting and probably me gaslighting myself was still telling me, nah, I think I actually don't think you do. Like, even though I obviously did. Yeah. And yeah, so then we booked an MRI, did the MRI, and it came back with like stage 4 endo, like all over my pelvis. And when he was going through that, it's like a 2-page document, and he's like, it's on this and it's on this. He's like, we knew it was going to be bad. I was like, did we know it was going to be this bad? Because I didn't think it was.
This podcast literally wouldn't be possible without Evelyn. Beyond producing it, they have personally helped me on my PMDD journey. I am literally in my luteal phase right now, and I'm telling you, it makes me emotional. 3 years ago, there's no way I could have even sat in this chair, done this podcast, or done anything in my luteal phase. I used to feel like I didn't want to be here before my period. Like there was a big cloud looming over me, and life just felt so heavy in the 2 weeks before my period. But since I've started Evelyn's supplement routine over a year ago, genuinely my whole life has changed. I feel like I can live again before my period, turn up and do things like this, socialise. Everything around me has improved, and I feel like I can really be myself again in my luteal phase. Evelyn makes science-backed, hormone-free supplements designed by experts for people like me. If you're struggling with your period, I honestly would urge you to give them a try. If you'd like to try them today, go to evelynhealth.com or use the link in our show notes and you can use Hotline 20 for 20% off your first order. Sorry, you've had an international rugby career. You're a professional rugby player. Yeah. Whilst you've had stage 4 endo without knowing you've had stage 4 endo, and you've had these symptoms for 10 plus years, and you've still continued to just keep, and you've done a World Cup with endo without knowing. Yeah. 2 World Cups. Can we do that? Yeah. And you're still gaslighting yourself that you might not have it.
I know.
Isn't that mad? The conditioning we have
absolutely
to just
wild.
Be like, keep going, keep being strong. That's absolutely crazy to me.
Yeah, and it was just weird. Like I was just like, oh, maybe even after that, when we booked my surgery, I was like, I'm not going to fully believe it until I've got pictures, or they go in and they remove it and they say, yeah, it was there. Yeah, and I can physically see it. And I think after my surgery, I was like, now I get it. I get it. But why did it take me that long? Like, I don't do you know what I mean? Now I'm just like...
Especially with your job.
Yeah.
If you had more of a job the way you don't physically need your body for your living. You think, oh, I understand why potentially someone kept putting it off or like, but you need, your body is your vessel.
Yeah. I don't know how I don't think people are like, how do you get through it? And I was just like, I don't know. Like, I do think it's very much like the mindset of an elite athlete is I will do anything I can to win or to perform or to be the best athlete I can. And so because again, all I ever knew within my rugby career was painful periods, was the symptoms
your
that
normal.
I was having. Exactly. If I'd maybe developed the symptoms 5 years in, that maybe would have knocked me back more, I think. But because it was literally lined up perfectly, I just think I just put my head down and got on with it, really, which I don't advocate for doing. Like, I'm not an advocate for doing that.
Not pushing through.
Yeah, I almost want people to like take my experience as a lesson and be like, actually speak about it more earlier on,
and don't push your body to the limit.
Yeah, and don't be afraid that it's going to have a negative impact on your job or on your career or on your performance or your selection. Because I was probably scared to be like, I'm like, after I did a fitness test, I was scared to say I can't train, I'm in pain, because I was afraid that would reflect badly, and then I would maybe not be selected for a game, for example.
So you had having to suppress a lot as well, which we all know what suppressing emotions and like pain, what that does to the body and the system. Yeah, that makes you very unwell and probably could make your endo worse.
Yeah, and I've obviously been doing a lot of learning on what can exacerbate symptoms, what makes it worse, what makes it better, and I've made massive changes in my lifestyle from when I got diagnosed in December to now around stress management and all sorts of stuff.
And the fact that you've already had an operation in that time since being diagnosed shows how bad it was. Yeah. And how was that process?
Yeah, it was kind of, so I've actually had, before this endo surgery, I've had 5 other surgeries for injuries.
Knees.
And so, 4 knees and an ankle.
Sorry, actually, I just wanted to touch on that. The whole knee thing. There was a whole thing done with the England football team and ACL injuries in their periods, right?
Yeah. It's a really interesting thing, actually, because endo is very estrogen dominant and estrogen creates ligament laxity, hence why they think at certain parts of your cycle when the estrogen is higher, potentially you are more likely to do an ACL, basically. And I'm like, okay, so I've got this extra tissue in my body that's excreting extra estrogen. No wonder I've done 2 ACLs, 2 meniscus injuries. You know, it makes you think, wow. Gosh. And the entire time I was on the pill, where my estrogen was blunted, I didn't get injured.
Wow.
I know. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. And I'm just like, whoa. And again, like, what if I hadn't been on the pill? 1, I would have been in more pain. 2, I may have gotten injured. It could have ruined my career. Like, I don't know. I think, you know, I've gone through a good few injuries, so I think I would have come back from it. But it's just like, what if? You just don't know. And so it's really interesting to me, like the link that there could be between those things. I can't remember where we were.
So, your operation, how was that process?
So I actually wasn't that nervous going into it and stuff because, again, I'd been under anaesthetic 5 times already. And the most recent one was in October last year. So it's just like, I literally had surgery every year for the last 5 years. So it's just like, it's okay. It's just the yearly surgery. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, annual.
Yeah. And as it got closer, I did think, okay, this is a little bit different though, because it's, you know, it's a health surgery. It's not just and
keyhole.
Go in and keyhole. Yeah. And I didn't know as many people who have had these surgeries. Like in rugby, you know, loads of people who have had an ankle surgery or knee surgery, but this is very unique to rugby right now. So I was obviously nervous about it, but I trusted the surgeon literally with my life, and tried to do everything I could to prepare for it. You know, like managing my symptoms going into it. I've also been on Undiagnosed, which is like a progesterone based medication, with the aim of it like stunting the growth of endo, reducing the growth of endo. Okay. So I've been on that for 6 months as well. So I was like feeling pretty, and that's actually really significantly helped before the surgery as well. But I was all right. And then after the surgery, when he came in and explained what was going on and showed me the pictures, I was like, oh, I get it now. Yeah. You can literally physically see, like I'm looking at my ovaries covered in endo. I'm looking at my bowel attached to my left-hand side abdominal wall.
Oh my gosh.
I was just like, gosh, girl, you've been through the ringer.
Yeah, and this has been going on without you having a clue.
Yeah. And so that was interesting. And I obviously had to slow right down and have like 2 weeks of rest, which
must have been hard.
It is really difficult for me. And the first few days I was just like, I can't do this for 2 weeks. But actually once I got through that, like almost got over the hill and kind of got into my groove, I was like, this is actually really good for me, because I've not had more than probably 5 or 6 days off physically in the last well, probably ever.
Wow.
Other than when I've been injured. But even then you're doing rehab. Like it's mentally still quite draining because you're doing your rehab and stuff. But I had no expectation to do anything for 2 weeks. Gosh. And once I got over the hill, probably the first 4 or 5 days, I was like, this is actually going to be really good for me in the long run. And my advice to anyone who has that surgery is literally do nothing for 2 weeks or rest as much as you can for 2 weeks and just
enjoy it.
Yeah, even if it feels like you're wasting time or that it's not like productive, just do it. And then I went back to training after 2 weeks, which
crazy girl.
Yeah,
crazy girl.
It's interesting because I think the way I try and describe it to people is that my baseline is like high. Yeah. My baseline level of training, and I've been training at an elite level with this inflammatory chronic illness for so long that actually it's been removed. Like it's not fully been removed. I've obviously still got endometriosis, but a lot of it has been removed. So I feel great now. Like,
do you feel lighter?
Feel great. Yeah, I do. And like mentally and physically. And when I went back to training, I could actually feel my lower abdominal muscles for the first time ever.
Wow.
Yeah, because I would always get really bad lower back pain because my core wasn't activating properly. And we were doing these really like low level activation drills. And I was like, I can feel it. It's tensing.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And so a lot of, obviously I've tried to share as much as I can on social media, but there's always two sides to every coin. It's like, this is my job. I've got a full team of people managing this. The surgeon has given me the go ahead to slowly start reintroducing things. But I was posting things and I was having people being like, you're doing too much, or how are you doing that so quickly?
Yeah.
You're going to get a hernia. That was one that I had. And I was like, can you not tell me that, please?
That's something my mum would say.
I'm a big worrier as well. So I'm like, is that scar tissue or a hernia?
Health anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, hugely. And I think then I just needed to share that like, I have lived with this condition for so long and trained at such a high level with this condition for so long. Now I've had surgery to remove it. I genuinely feel so much better, and training feels so much better.
Yeah.
Like I used to not be able to do a bike session without having stabbing and twisting pains and bloating.
Oh my God.
And now I'm like, I'm free.
Yeah.
And it does scare me because the potential of those symptoms coming back in the future is really scary because now I'm like, know what it's like to not live with those. But I mean, it's only been a month, but it's been great.
Have you had a period yet?
So I'm actually on medication that stops.
Okay.
So yeah, so I kind of wish that I could have a period just to be like,
to know what it feels like.
Yeah. But the medication I'm on stops my periods, and the reason is every time you have a period, any endometrial tissue that you have, any endometriosis tissue that you have bleeds. Then that becomes scar tissue. Then the next month that bleeds, and then that becomes scar tissue, and that's how it grows.
Yeah.
So if I'm not bleeding, the idea is it slows the regrowth.
It won't grow as fast.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So throughout this whole process over the years, how have you found it in terms of with your coaches and their understanding of your endo? And obviously you said sometimes you'll be rolling around in pain and you'd be looking around thinking, oh, people are going to think I'm unfit, but I'm in pain. Have people been understanding? Have you dealt with like misogyny within all of this whole process? Or
I think for a long time, because I didn't speak about it, I never had to deal with the coaches' opinions of it because I just didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And that was just my defense mechanism. And it probably just forced me, like, even when I was in pain, to just crack on with it and just try my best to, or just say it's just bad period pains. And I hate saying that, but that was maybe the easiest way to just justify it to coaches, like, you know. And also I didn't know what it was, so I couldn't say I have endometriosis, it's really severe, like I have chronic pain, because I didn't know what it was, so I didn't have an explanation for it yet. And then if we go back to the World Cup last year, that was probably the worst day of my career, I'm going to say it.
Was that in Canada?
Yeah, against Canada. And usually I've been so fortunate that usually day one of my period doesn't line up on game day, and I was like relatively like clockwork,
and the only time you're in the World Cup.
I know come on. It usually comes on a Wednesday, and Wednesdays are my day off, so I could just like hibernate, deal with day one pain,
fine,
like get through it, and then come in on Tuesday and I would still be in a bit of pain, Thursday, sorry, and I would still be in a bit of pain, but I could get through it.
Yeah. And
then by game day it's settled down, day 4 we're okay. But it came early, and I thought, brilliant. And I just thought, maybe it won't be too bad. Had my period pants on, like we're good to go. I was on like mefenamic acid and transenzemic acid, which is like medication I was taking to try and help manage the pain and reduce the flow. And I thought, okay, I'll be all right. Then I took too much caffeine, which sometimes you do before a game. I've now realised caffeine and endo, not friends, especially in large amounts. And I was taking a large amount during this game. That combined with adrenaline.
Yeah. You were through the roof.
Yeah. And then all the pain, the sugary foods that I was having to eat on the day, because you have to eat sweets, fast release carbs, energy gels. Again, all the things that don't go well with endo that I now know. Remember, I still hadn't been diagnosed by this point either. And it just was a recipe for disaster, to be honest. And I went out and I just can't. The only silver lining of that day was the kit we were wearing was black shorts. So I didn't feel self-conscious. That was one thing.
Did you have your period pants on?
I did, yeah.
What are your favourite period pants, by the way?
Nixie.
Oh, Nixie are my favourite.
Very good, very good. I only tried them like in the last 6 months. Very good.
10 out of 10, comfy. Yeah, best for the gym.
Yeah, really good. So yeah, I had them
shorts
on, but I felt less self-conscious because I was like, okay, at least if I bleed through, you can't see it. But I just can't express, I was not thinking about rugby the entire time. I was just going whistle to whistle, and then the whistle would go on, I'd be like, oh, I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
The team doctor knew what was going on. She was coming on and she was like, are you all right? And I was just like, not really. But I just I'll get through it, get to half time. And when you watch the game back, you can see in the breaks of play, I'm just hunched over, the doctor's coming on, are you all right? It was just, I couldn't think straight, genuinely. It takes a lot of focus and concentration to remember your role off a line out, or what am I doing in this play? Where do I need to be in the defensive line? But I wasn't. I mean, pain distracts you anyway, let alone when you're in the middle of an international game. It was just horrendous, and it should have been one of the best days.
There was so much pressure on you that day, I bet, and for yourself, your whole career has led up to this point, and here you are in excruciating pain, not being able to deliver in the way that you've trained for years.
And I felt really embarrassed because I also at this point still did not know I had endometriosis, so I couldn't even be
justify it.
I've got endometriosis, this is why. It was just no one else is like this on their period. Why?
Did everyone around you notice that there was something, all of your teammates?
Yeah, and by this point I probably did open up to a lot of my teammates and be really severe. And again, I knew what endo was. I was trying to get diagnosed with it, so I was open about that. And I remember after the game, the coach came up to me and he was like, are you all right? And the doctor said about bad period pains, and I was like, I can't even describe the pain. And I've got a really good relationship with him, and I was like, the pain is so bad, I couldn't think straight. And you also don't want it to reflect badly on your performance either, because I'm like, that wasn't me on the pitch. I wasn't thinking straight.
That must have been hard to watch back.
It's again, and that's where the embarrassment comes from. Now I understand what's going on. I'm not embarrassed anymore. But at the time I was just and then I was thinking, am I going to be selected for next week? Because this isn't going to be as much of a problem next week, because I'm not going to be on my period next week and I'll be able to think straight again. But it's just those kind of conversations that are actually quite difficult to have in the immediate, especially when you don't have a diagnosis. And then when this was all coming about getting diagnosed, I actually sat down with the head coach and with the team doctor, and we talked openly about it. I was like, this is the impact it has on my performance. This is what happens, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, we need to get this sorted in the same way that you would a knee injury, for example. Yes. So I've actually my experience has been, since I've spoken about it and since I've had my diagnosis, has been really positive.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I think when you look at the statistics of 1 in 10 women having endo, it's probably more like 1 in 8, 1 in 7, 1 in 8. And when you look at a rugby team, there might be 40 of us. The statistics suggest that there's 4 to 6 of us with endo in that room. And so whatever I'm experiencing, I know for a fact there's other girls in there, and I know that they have symptoms. And so I just want to be able to open up the conversation a bit more and to help them get their symptoms managed, or maybe get surgery and get a diagnosis, because then their performance will improve, their self-esteem will improve as well, because you're not going, oh, why am I so useless today? Why can I not do this? Why am I in so much pain?
The self-loathing that comes with any chronic condition is really hard, because you just hate your body. You're like, why are you failing me?
Yeah, and the highs and the lows, and it's why am I so on it one day and productive and I can just conquer the world, and then 2 days later you can't function.
No,
you're literally I can't even make food for myself. It's the highs and lows of that. And since being on medication and having my surgery, I don't have the highs, but I also don't have the lows. I'm just consistent. And it's so much easier to be confident in yourself and to have higher self-esteem when you can just keep showing up consistently and not have to deal with the highs and the lows and Like, I'm good today, I'm terrible today, I can perform today, I can't perform tomorrow. It's like mentally draining.
Yeah. I think it's really good, like you say, to keep speaking about it, because there will be people in your team or younger rugby players or younger athletes who are just doing what you did, and they are just struggling, pushing through. I'm going to get there. And actually, do you know what? I feel like because you've had like success after success, when you go through this pain, you're kind of getting rewarded for like just dealing with it, because you're like, well, I've been dealing with the pain and I've got this far, so I can continue to like live with the pain. But actually, that's not the point. Like, you shouldn't live in pain. Your periods should not be painful. Like, it's not normal.
And it's like a validation, isn't it? It's like, okay, I dug in, I got through it, happy days. The next month comes around, I'm in pain again. Okay, to get through it like I did last month, and go on and on. But actually, that's the polar opposite of what you should do. And the sooner you almost want to get seen and talk about it when it's less severe, so that it doesn't get so severe, you know? Like, I was told that there was literally adhesions from when I was 14. So it started then. It's like, if I had been seen to then, maybe the management strategies would have been better, and maybe it wouldn't have got to stage 4 and wouldn't have been on my bowel, and wouldn't have meant that my ovaries were covered in cysts and attached to each other, and all of this. It's like, if you just had it dealt with sooner, or listened to sooner, or if we had more education, or if I knew what endo was before I was 23. You could actually
advocate for yourself, and therefore find the right person earlier on in life to be able to support you. And you could have had that operation at 16.
Exactly.
Rather than, what was it, 23, 24? No, just 20, now. 26.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah. Crazy. I know. That's crazy. What would you say has been what are your solutions for endo now, in terms of like, what are your coping strategies?
Yeah. So for me, like, lifestyle changes have been huge. So I literally have, like, you could probably say, a caffeine tattoo.
I saw that earlier.
I'm literally like obsessed with caffeine. But I've had to control that and go from having 3 or 4 coffees a day to 1, if that. Decaf's my best friend now. So I'll just have decaf basically most of the time, other than when maybe if my symptoms are pretty minimal, I'll be like, okay, I'll have a coffee. But sometimes then it flares stuff up. Reducing like processed food, all of the general health advice times 10 basically. You just got to like really dial in on it, and like the stress stuff has been really important, because within a job like rugby, you're basically put into a fight or flight response every day. It's a fake fight or flight response. It's not real. Like, you're not going to die,
but your body can't tell the difference.
The same feeling to you. So if someone's chasing you, or you're running into someone in a full contact scenario, you feel like you're being chased by wolves. And so I have that stress. It's inevitable. So then when I'm away from rugby, it's really important to me now to just not say yes to plans I don't want to say yes to, not just be in social environments just because I feel like I have to. If I need to be away from people, if I need to like calm down, bring my stress levels down, that's hugely important for me. And I've found that that's been really beneficial. And I used to have another job outside of rugby where I would do online coaching, but that was such a big responsibility, and it actually stressed me out a lot, that when I got diagnosed, I stepped away from that, because I was like, that's an additional stress that I don't need, and that maybe is worsening my endo symptoms. And I do think that's really helped. And then obviously the medication that I've started as well. For some people it doesn't work, for some people they don't like it. For me, it's worked really well.
Good. Yeah.
And it's been really helpful in managing my symptoms. And then the surgery, I would suggest, if possible, to get on a waiting list. Yeah. And a lot of people have it as a diagnostic surgery. I was fortunate that I got a diagnosis, then had the surgery, so I kind of knew more what to expect, because I think the emotional toll that comes with not going into a surgery and not knowing if you even have it, and you're like, the amount of women that have messaged me and said, I've got my surgery coming up, I'm really scared they're not going to find anything. And I'm like, if you have got to this point, they will find it. I'm telling you, like, they will.
I did have a friend and they found nothing.
Really?
They said that she had like scar tissue and lesions or something, or like, and she was like, but I've never had an operation, so I don't understand. And but she has endo, like 1000%.
That just could be a very bad
but they just don't know where it
is. Well, it hides, and it can be anywhere and everywhere. They found it on someone's brain, they found it in people's lungs, eyes, wrist, knee. It's been everywhere. And like, I've only had MRIs and surgery abdominally. They did find some lesions further up on my diaphragm and into my lung, which is a scary experience. And to be honest with you, I'm waiting for my follow-up appointment to be like, what are we going to do about that? Because I have had some symptoms where I'm like, I've got shortness of breath, or these kind of things, and again you just push it under the rug because you're like, it's probably just
when it comes
nothing.
to like the lung area, that's very
it's scary, especially as an athlete. I need my lungs.
You need your lungs.
And so I don't know, we'll deal with that as and when, but that's the biggest thing for me where I'm like, it's not a period disease. I actually went to an NHS appointment with a gynecologist after I'd already been diagnosed, because I stayed on the waiting list and on the system, and I had a gynecologist tell me, the only cure is a hysterectomy, and I was like, no, it's not.
No, hun.
But I'm a very strong-willed individual who's already been diagnosed. I have the education.
Yeah.
If I was someone going into that appointment and I didn't really know what I was,
who was super
advocating for,
yeah,
it's probably one of the only diseases that you have to be an advocate for and have to know the answers more than the professional. I felt confident enough to say no, it's not. But other people go, oh really? Okay,
yeah,
maybe I should have a hysterectomy. And
that's
I'm
26. That's the same with PMDD as well.
It's crazy.
They often say that, and I know people that have had hysterectomies and still have PMDD symptoms, and I'm like, yeah, that's my worst nightmare.
Yeah, because it's a full. Yeah, why should you have a choice potentially of having a child taken away from you? It's incorrect advice.
With endo, they tell you to have a kid.
Yeah.
Get pregnant. My friend got pregnant, symptoms came back.
Exactly. I know you got a kid to deal with too.
Yeah.
I've got endo and a child. Brilliant.
Oh no.
Yeah. So that was crazy to me, because I now know as well, it was on my bowel, it was on my bladder. Like, what's going to removing my reproductive organs going to do for that if it's on elsewhere?
That's crazy.
And everywhere else in your body there can be.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Wild. Well, keep me updated on the lung thing, because I would like. I'm worried about you.
No.
You're going to be fine.
Oh, just forget about it until then. It's fine.
You've come this far.
Yeah.
You will be okay.
I didn't come this far to just come this far.
Stunning. I think we're ready for our dilemmas. Hi, Ellisha. Hi, Gwen. Hi, Gwen. I'm 22 and I've had really painful periods since I was 14. Every month I end up taking time off work because I'm doubled over in pain, but everyone around me keeps saying that it's just being a woman. My GP has suggested different contraceptive pills, but hasn't referred me to anyone. And I'm starting to wonder if I'm overreacting. How do I know when my period pain isn't actually normal? Thank you. Love the pod.
Okay. So first of all, if you're taking time off work, that is not normal.
Yeah.
That is not normal period pain. And as difficult as it is to advocate for yourself, things like writing down your symptoms, potentially asking to go and see a different GP within the GP, get a fresh set of eyes, maybe change doctors.
Yeah.
Just to try and again, go with your list of symptoms. That could be something, have someone with you to advocate for you. I always say this. It's hugely important, because especially as women, I think we're really bad at being like, it's the same way we're bad at celebrating our successes. It's like, it's really difficult to be like, this is actually ruining my life. Whereas someone else who supports you can say it's ruining her life. But first of all, I'm sorry that you've gone through that experience, because that's horrendous. And it sounds very familiar to what I went through. But I do think even, it's so sad to hear you say, am I being dramatic? No, you're absolutely not. And it's really sad that you've gotten to the point where it's exhausting and it's like, how am I going to do this? Yeah. But please stick with it and try some of those things that I just suggested, because you may be one more visit away from getting the breakthrough and being referred, and then hopefully getting some relief of your symptoms. But it's really tricky when again, it's not just struggling with bad periods, it's potentially ruining a career, having to take time off. Relationships, yeah, we haven't even touched on that. That's like trying to manage a relationship with endo is like, with any women's health condition, is so difficult and hard to explain. It's really hard to explain.
Yeah, and if they don't get it, they just don't get it.
Exactly. So yeah, that would be my advice. What about you?
I would say the same. I'm such an advocate for taking someone with you as well. But I also think it's just so important that unfortunately, you do have a responsibility to educate those around you when you have this condition. It shouldn't be your responsibility, but it will make your life so much easier the more educated those around you are, so they can support you. Yeah. So send them this podcast. Easier. So click share. Yeah, share this to everyone you know. Share this with everyone you know, because honestly, not even this, but even like your page where you talk about endo and being an athlete is so helpful for, partners and parents just to fully understand and get a grasp of what's going on. Yeah. Because the more educated they are, the more they'll talk about it. Like my mum stands in coffee shops and talks about about PMDD now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, crazy. Like, she's like, yeah, my daughter really struggled before her periods emotionally. And her daughter, like, she's got friends who have got daughters who have struggled with like endo and stuff. And my mum now, because I'm in this like sphere, my mum talks about it where she wouldn't have spoken about it before.
Yeah.
So the more you talk about it and educate those around you, the more support they will give you. That's what I would say.
100% agree.
Yeah. But we're sending you so much love.
Yeah.
And our DMs are always open.
As are mine.
Number 2. Oh, you got a little mini you here.
Oh, no.
Hey, I'm 19 and I'm trying to break into elite sport, but it feels like every month I lose a week of my painful periods and to painful periods and fatigue. My teammates seem to train consistently whilst I'm constantly trying to catch up. I'm worried that if I slow down to look after myself, someone else will take my place. You're going to be able to relate to this. How do you know when pushing through is helping you or actually making things worse? Thank you so much.
Really tricky one because like I did push through and
you're like, look at me now.
Yeah, but it's really hard because it also makes me sad for my younger version of myself because I just pushed through and then that meant that I didn't get a diagnosis potentially sooner than I could have.
Yeah.
And so my advice would be try hard to get a diagnosis because that way you will then hopefully find management strategies and pain medication that will not necessarily stop you losing a week, but maybe it might be a day or two. And then hopefully that means that you will feel not like you're not so far behind. But I also think, remember, like it's not a race. And sometimes it can feel like if I slow down this week, everyone else is going to overtake me. But if you slow down that week, would that allow you to perform better the next week?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you look at it? Because you may not be able to train as consistently, but that's because you've got a chronic illness and that's not something to be taken for granted.
No.
And I think it's about being in the right environment and having conversations, because now that I can speak to my coaches openly and say, I'm having a terrible day, I'm in pain, I'm really fatigued, they can potentially say, you know what, don't stress, step out of this. Same with like injuries. I've got the knees of like a 50-year-old woman. So if my knees flare up, I get my training adapted. And it doesn't mean that I'm falling behind or that I'm any less worthy than another person.
It's just working with you and your body and your 100%. Ailments, the things you've got wrong with you.
And as when you're trying to break into elite sport, people sometimes forget that the important thing is how hard working you are, how well you know your body as an athlete, and how well you perform on game day. So you have to do whatever you can within the week or within the month to prepare yourself to be the best you can on game day. That looks very different for different people.
Yeah.
I know some of the young girls that I train and play with that can train all day and can go and socialise all night, and they can come in the next day and they're fresh and they're ready to go. I'm not like that. And so because of a chronic illness, because of injuries, if I need to take a step back one day so that I can perform better the next day, that doesn't make me any less worthy than the girls that are just doing everything.
No, I get you.
As long as I can perform the best I can on game day. And that's been a lot for me to take in, because I used to be like, oh, but I've missed this, so that's not fair because they've done it all. But what if I get selected? But if I can be the best athlete and be the best player and person, then that will still allow me to be picked on the game day. It's about like
preserving
100%,
preserving that energy and preserving sort of your like peace before the big events.
Yeah.
And kind of navigating, okay, I'm going to slow down here because I've got this in a week.
I think it also comes from actually having a bit of love for yourself as well. Because if you're in a place where compassion is the word. Like if you're in a place where you don't really have too much self-esteem or confidence, you are going to be that negative voice in your head that's saying this is going to pull me back. Whereas I think now I'm in a place where I just love me for who I am. I'm really happy with where I'm at. I appreciate my body and my mind for everything it's gone through in its life. I can be like, it's all right. It's all right. And you also have more life experience when you're a bit older, not 19. 19 everything feels very intense, and you haven't necessarily had the experience and to be able to say, I actually got through this and it was fine. You know, this may be the first time that you're struggling with this. So I think compassion is hugely important for sure.
Yeah, and comparison is the thief of joy.
It really is.
If you think you've got something like endo, you can't be comparing yourself to someone that doesn't have endo. There's no comparison.
And you actually can't compare yourself to someone who does as well. This is the crazy thing, because it does affect people so differently.
Yeah,
you know, there are people
types
that have stage 1 endo that have far more debilitating symptoms than someone with stage 4. So I think it's so crazy, and everyone's symptoms are different. Everyone's experience after surgery is different. You can't compare. You can obviously use people for inspiration and be like, what are you going through? Is it similar? But remember, like, just you're in your own lane, run your own race, or walk your own race. It doesn't matter. That's profound.
Walk, don't run. Walk, don't run.
Yeah. The opposite of what all the influencers tell you to do.
Literally, walk, don't run.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. Are you ready for some quick fire questions?
Very ready.
Are you feeling fiery?
Always.
So fiery. Okay. Number 1. The thing women's sport won't talk about openly that it really needs to.
That women aren't small men. We're not the same as men. All the research, until more recently, has been on men.
Yeah.
And we can't train the same way. We have different hormones. We have fluctuating hormones. We also are all on different parts of our cycle. Some of us are on contraceptives. Some of us aren't. Some of us have got women's health conditions. It's not a, a blueprint like men's sport is. And I think that sometimes it's not spoken about enough, is that we are trying to get a rise in women's sport in the same way men's sport is now up where it is, but we're not men, so we have to do it a bit differently,
Yeah, that's so
and I
true.
think if we were going down to women's health, that's my answer. But I also think that women's sport is not men's sport in the way that women are different. We have different personalities. We want to express ourselves. We're generally, this has been very general, more creative and want to be able to express ourselves in different ways, whether that be fashion, music, on social media. And I think sometimes we get criticism for potentially posting a TikTok and then losing a game. I want everyone to know it's not correlated. Okay, I was doing the dance whether you saw it on TikTok or not, you know? So and I go about my day-to-day life. You don't see what I do on my day-to-day life, but if I post something online and then I lose, that's correlated. It's like everyone...
And I don't think a man would be scrutinised in the same way.
Yeah, but potentially they wouldn't post it because they'd be scared to post it.
Embarrassed.
And I think for me, also people need to understand, sorry, this is not Quickfire, but oh well. People need to understand that for me, posting fun things on TikTok and Instagram, that is the vehicle that is used to engage young girls. Yeah. So that then they can see the educational content or the inspirational content to then maybe encourage them to try sport or to try women's rugby. The fun content is the hook to get that. Yeah. And people forget that. And also my why isn't to win and play rugby and be the best I can. That plays a role. But my why is to inspire young girls. So if that's what's going to do it, that's what I'm going to do.
It's actually the best way to get in social media. Yeah. 100%. And this is the only thing, this isn't Quickfire, the only thing about social media being banned for under 16s is that there's so much, I get girls message me all the time, 14 years old, being 100%. Like, no one will listen to me. I'm in pain. I can't do this. I can't do that. My periods are bad. Yeah. My parents, like, that worries me. Yeah. Because I can't be that big sister anymore. But I understand equally as much. I think it is great that they've banned social media, but there are going to be parts where people like, you can't inspire those people anymore because they're not there. Yeah.
Agree.
But wow. We went round in a circle there. But that was good.
Was two answers and they were long-winded.
That was very good. What did Endo take from you that had nothing to do with rugby?
I think probably a social life. I didn't go out and do things when I was growing up because I felt like I couldn't, or that it was always a worry, something, and I internalized it all so much and I didn't talk about it, that it was a lot to deal with mentally, and I thought there was something wrong with me, and so I really struggled with socializing, and I would say probably, which is really sad. And it's hard because now, when you find the right people and you have your circle, and that's great, and I can socialize if I want and I can not socialize if I want, but I didn't have that option, I think, when I was young, because I felt really restricted and limited by heavy periods, by painful periods, and felt really extremely self-conscious about them as well.
Wow. And that affected your no, that is sad, but also that obviously would have affected your romantic relationships as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I didn't even think about romantic relationships properly until I was older, because I was just like, I can't even fathom, so for sure.
Wow. No, that breaks my heart a bit, but I'm so glad you're on the other side. Yeah. Now you can thrive.
Now I can thrive.
Now she's thriving. She's thriving and surviving, and then she survived, then thrived.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like the Henry VIII rhyme: divorced, beheaded, died.
This has been such a good conversation, and I honestly think you won't have any clue how much you are inspiring younger people. And I'm sure there's people that have probably started rugby because of you, and they've seen that and they're like, actually that's so cool because you're cool. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? If someone had told 14, 15-year-old me that someone was going to sit in a podcast and say you're cool, I'd be like,
no, I think
way.
You're so cool. I also think it's like the hottest job ever. I want to meet your teammates. Any of them single? It's such a hot job. Like, wow, mammy. I'm like, wow.
I'm going to have to clip this and send it to them. They're going to be like,
hey girls, I'm single by the way. Please. But honestly, it's been so good, and I just wanted one more question because I don't know, I was interested, going back to that younger self. What would you want your 14-year-old self to know? It doesn't have to necessarily be about endo, but throughout this whole journey, what would you want to tell her right now if you could tell her anything?
I think that all of the things that make you unique or different or weird, quote unquote, are the things that are going to make you successful and inspirational when you're older.
That's what Connie from Nixie Body said.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's so true. Like, I got bullied a lot growing up, and it was because I was different in the way that I was driven. I didn't, you know what? I had this really unique ability to just actually ignore what people were saying about me and just it would affect me, but then it wouldn't stop me, if that makes sense. Like, I would be like, okay, yeah, I'm sad about that, but I'm still going to do it.
Move on.
Yeah, exactly. And I had this really unique ability to do that. But all of the experiences I had growing up, all of the different sports I did, the different instruments I learned to play. I mean, I literally had a YouTube channel when I was like 16, and it used to get played in the common room as like a take the mick out of me.
Oh,
but I was like, more fool you give me views, but whatever.
But also, like, look at Sophia and Cinzia.
Exactly, right.
Started when they were 12.
But I stopped eventually because I was just like, whatever, maybe it's not cool. Now I've started doing it again, and I'm like, why didn't I carry on doing that?
Yeah.
You know? And so actually all of the skills and the experiences you have when you're young, that you're never going to please everyone. People are going to take the mick out of you for it. That's what's going to mean that you are who you are today, and that people respect you and are inspired by you because of those things.
Oh, I love that. Turning those things that people didn't like about you, or people that people frowned upon, like all the things people frowned upon, have now made you who you are today and got you where you are.
Oh yeah.
Slay Queen, thank you so much for the best conversation, honestly. I loved this. And I just think you should be so proud of your journey, not only for how you push through in pain, but for like completing and accomplishing things that some people could only ever dream of. Smashed it.
Thank you. Let's have this chat too.
Can I give you a hug?
Of course you can.
We're gonna look down that camera.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on another Hormonal Hotline episode. Please be sure to subscribe and please click the bell to get notifications. We cannot wait to have you back, and thank you so much for coming.